What would happen to your kitchen if every human on Earth suddenly vanished? No electricity, no cleaning, no doors opening, no food being touched, no one coming back. For 100 days, nature would begin taking everything back. And this is exactly what that would look like. Day 1, the lights are still on. The refrigerator still hums. Everything looks completely normal. Day 2, the silence feels wrong. No footsteps echo through the house. Only stillness remains. Day 3, dust begins settling across the counters. The air already feels heavier. Time has started moving differently. Day 4, no windows open. No fresh air enters. The kitchen begins holding its breath. Day 5, the power suddenly dies. The refrigerator falls silent. The real countdown begins. Day 6, food begins warming inside the fridge. Milk starts turning. Invisible bacteria wake up. Day 7, a faint sour smell appears. Barely noticeable at first. Decay always begins quietly. Day 8, condensation forms on cooling surfaces. Moisture settles into hidden corners. The kitchen starts sweating. Day 9, dust thickens. Stillness becomes oppressive. Nothing moves, yet. Day 10, the smell grows stronger. Food continues breaking down. Nature has received the invitation. Day 11, the sour smell grows stronger. Something invisible is multiplying. The kitchen is no longer clean. Day 12, tiny flies arrive, drawn by the scent of spoilage. Nature has found the house. Day 13, they explore every surface. Counters, sink, forgotten corners. Nothing goes unnoticed. Day 14, the first eggs are laid, too small to see. But everything changes now. Day 15, larvae begin to hatch. Tiny mouths feeding on decay. The first ecosystem is born. Day 16, moisture feeds bacterial growth. Invisible colonies spread rapidly. The kitchen loses its sterility. Day 17, a dark patch appears near damp surfaces. The first mold colony has arrived. Soft, silent, unstoppable. Day 18, the smell becomes heavier. Wet, rotten, organic. Day 19, flies return in larger numbers. This is no longer a visit. It's occupation. Day 20, ant scouts enter the kitchen. Searching, mapping, claiming. Day 21, thin trails stretch across the counters. Order emerges from chaos. A colony begins forming. Day 22, mold spreads wider. Green-gray patterns creep across damp areas. The walls begin changing. Day 23, larvae grow larger. Movement becomes impossible to ignore. Decay accelerates. Day 24, rotting food collapses further. Liquids leak across forgotten shelves. The smell becomes unbearable. Day 25, 25 days in. The kitchen no longer feels abandoned. It feels occupied. Day 26, more insects arrive. Flies, ants, hidden scavengers. Day 27, dark moisture stains spread. Cabinet corners begin softening. Damage becomes visible. Day 28, mold thickens into colonies. Surfaces lose their original texture. Nature rewrites the room. Day 29, ant traffic intensifies. Perfect moving lines cover the counters. Tiny civilizations emerge. Day 30, one full month. The kitchen is no longer a room. It is habitat. Day 31, food matter breaks down completely. Organic residue feeds everything. Decay creates opportunity. Day 32, microscopic life explodes across hidden surfaces. Bacteria dominate the unseen world. Transformation compounds. Day 33, more flies arrive. More eggs follow. The cycle keeps repeating. Day 34, water damage spreads along the walls. Humidity settles deeper. The structure begins changing. Day 35, the sink becomes a breeding zone. Standing moisture supports life. Decay finds permanence. Day 36, fungal threads stretch outward. The transformation feels unstoppable. Biology now controls the space. Day 37, the air becomes thick, heavy with rot. The room feels alive. Day 38, constant insect movement. What looked empty is now crowded with life. Day 39, dust mixes with organic decay. Surfaces age dramatically. Human order collapses further. Day 40, 40 days after humanity vanished. The kitchen is no longer simply rotting. It is becoming an ecosystem. Day 41, moisture seeps deeper into the walls. Wood begins swelling. The house itself starts changing. Day 42, mold spreads across cabinet interiors. Soft black and green patches grow thicker. Decay becomes impossible to hide. Day 43. Insects multiply faster now. The ecosystem has momentum. Nature is no longer testing the space. Day 44. The refrigerator begins leaking. Rotting liquids seep onto the floor. A new food source appears. Day 45. The floor becomes active. Tiny scavengers gather where moisture collects. Life spreads downward. Day 46. The smell reaches every room. Heavy, wet, almost suffocating. Day 47. Cabinet wood weakens. Humidity softens its structure. Human craftsmanship starts failing. Day 48. Mold climbs higher along the walls. Dark patterns stretch upward. Nature keeps expanding. Day 49. The sink drain becomes its own ecosystem. Hidden movement continues below. Life thrives out of sight. Day 50. 50 days after humanity vanished. The kitchen has become biologically active. Decay now controls everything. Day 51. A storm rattles the house outside. Wind finds tiny openings. The world begins entering. Day 52. Dust blows in from outside. New particles settle everywhere. The house is no longer sealed. Day 53. Moisture from rain reaches deeper cracks. The walls stay damp longer. Decay accelerates again. Day 54. A window seal weakens. Fresh air finally enters. So does nature. Day 55. Tiny seeds drift inside, carried by wind, waiting for the right conditions. Day 56. Insects continue multiplying. The kitchen never truly rests now. Life is constant. Day 57. Mold dominates entire sections. Original surfaces are barely recognizable. The transformation feels dramatic. Day 58. The floor softens in damp areas. Water damage spreads outward. The room begins physically changing. Day 59. The first tiny sprout appears. A fragile green shoot emerges. Nature has crossed a new threshold. Day 60. 60 days after the end. The kitchen is no longer decaying. It is evolving. Day 61. That tiny sprout reaches toward the light. The kitchen has become fertile ground. Life is now growing. Day 62. More moisture enters with every storm. The air feels humid and wild. Decay feeds new beginnings. Day 63. A second sprout appears. Seeds carried by the wind are taking root. Nature is settling in. Day 64. Insects swarm more aggressively. The ecosystem is now fully active. Nothing here is wasted. Day 65. Plant roots begin searching through cracks. Human surfaces become natural pathways. The kitchen keeps changing. Day 66. Mold covers entire cabinet sections. Dark organic textures replace clean design. The room looks infected. Day 67. The refrigerator door hangs slightly open. Rot and moisture spill outward. Decay escapes containment. Day 68. Tiny spiders arrive. Predators follow prey. A true ecosystem is forming. Day 69. The sink overflows with stagnant water. More breeding grounds appear. Life multiplies faster. Day 70. 70 days after humanity vanished. The kitchen feels less like a room and more like wilderness. Day 71. Green growth spreads wider. Leaves reach across damaged surfaces. Nature begins redesigning the space. Day 72. Insect movement becomes constant. Every surface seems alive. Stillness no longer exists. Day 73. Rainwater enters through weakened seals. The floor stays wet for longer. Perfect conditions continue. Day 74. Wood begins cracking. Cabinets weaken under moisture damage. Human construction keeps failing. Day 75. The smell has changed again. Less rotten now. More earthy. Day 76. Moss appears in damp corners. Soft green life spreads silently. Nature gains more ground. Day 77. The walls darken further. Organic growth dominates the room. Clean lines disappear. Day 78. Tiny creatures move through hidden spaces. Predators, scavengers, survivors. Day 79. Plant stems climb higher. The kitchen architecture becomes support. Nature uses everything. Day 80. 80 days after the collapse. The kitchen no longer belongs to humanity. It belongs to life. Day 81. Vines begin reaching across the counters. The kitchen becomes a framework for growth. Nature is fully reclaiming the space. Day 82. Moisture, insects, mold, and plants now coexist. The ecosystem has stabilized. This is no longer chaos. Day 83. The original countertop is barely visible. Organic life covers what humans once maintained. The room looks transformed. Day 84. The window weakens further. More outside air enters. Nature keeps pushing inward. Day 85. The first larger insects appear. Predators have found prey. The food chain is evolving. Day 86. Plant roots spread deeper into damaged wood. Cabinets become part of the ecosystem. Nothing remains untouched. Day 87. Rainwater pools across the floor. Reflections shimmer beneath moving insects. The kitchen feels wild. Day 88. Moss thickens in damp corners. Green life spreads where tiles once stayed dry. The transformation feels beautiful. Day 89. The air smells earthy now. Less like rot, more like forest. Day 90. 90 days after humanity vanished. The kitchen no longer resembles home. It resembles nature. Day 91. Leaves stretch toward the broken light. Growth becomes aggressive. The room keeps changing daily. Day 92. Tiny ecosystems form in separate corners. Different species, different roles. One connected world. Day 93. The refrigerator is nearly consumed by decay. Rust, moisture, and mold dominate. Human technology loses. Day 94. Spiders weave between plant stems. Predators patrol silently. The ecosystem matures. Day 95. Cabinets begin collapsing under damage. Wood can no longer hold. Human order physically breaks apart. Day 96. Wind carries in more seeds. More life arrives. Nature never stops expanding. Day 97. The kitchen feels completely foreign. Not abandoned. Reclaimed. Day 98. Every surface moves with life. Insects. Plants. Growth. Decay. Day 99. Almost nothing remains of the original room. Nature has rewritten everything. Human design is fading away. Day 100. 100 days after humanity vanished. This is no longer a kitchen. Nature took everything back.